Welcome back to Daytona. The clouds begin to break, just over 5.5 hours to go. And one guy who tried to get some rest last night was a star from IRL, Helio Castroneves. Helio, you were so hyped up yesterday when you jumped out of the car. You said you'll never be able to sleep. Were you able to last night?
A little bit, no question. It was a little hard, especially when you leave the car. The adrenaline is still running, you know, but I want to make sure that I take the rest, because it's not going to help you here watching the race. You need to focus, make sure that you rest for your next stint. So it's amazing. I mean, it's so many things going on. I mean, now rain, now it's just incredible. Right now we're surviving, which is good. So hopefully we finish this 24.
Certainly a busy off season for you, not only on the race in front. You've got a lot of sports car racing in front of you this year. But talk about your personal life. You had some great things happen there too.
That's right. I got engaged. Look, it's even raining a little harder now. I got engaged last year, so it's something that I think everybody needs to find balance in life. So it's great. So I'm truly happy now. Let's make it happen.
All right, mate. Have a good run when you get back in the car.
Thank you.
It could be difficult, at least in the near term. It's starting to rain heavily again, and as you can see from the shots of those clouds to the north of the racetrack and moving in, we may not have seen the worst of the weather here at Daytona. See those clouds overhead.
Yeah, it's looking very, very dark down towards NASCAR 4. I mean, incredibly dark. But hopefully from that radar we saw on the weather map a few moments ago that this could be the last batch of rain. But it's, I mean, really clouding up, coming over from behind the grandstand and sweeping over the track now. Clouds just about down to the ground.
Well, rain has always been a part of the Rolex 24, but never more so than 1983. One of the most amazing races and pit lane incidents that I can recall, certainly in the broadcasting history of this race. Here's Lee Diffie with a moment in time, 1983.
A feud between Bob Wallach and AJ Foyt highlighted Porsche's 11th overall Rolex 24 victory in 1983. At one time in the race, their 935 Turbo was 15 laps down, but shortly after Wallach reclaimed the lead, the Frenchman was replaced by AJ Foyt.
How do you feel about a complete stranger to you getting in that car in this rain?
Well, I'm upset about it because he doesn't know the car, he doesn't know the rain, he doesn't know anything. Now we are one lap leading, and Mr. AJ Foyt is driving for the PR. I'm upset about it.
Foyt, who hadn't been in a sports car since winning Le Mans some 15 years earlier, silenced his critics by setting the fastest lap of the race in the rain en route to victory. All was good afterwards amongst Wallach and Foyt as they celebrated in victory lane with the team's other co-drivers, Preston Henn and Claude Ballerino. 2 years later, Foyt and Wallach, along with Al Unser Sr., teamed up for another win here at the Rolex 24, in addition to winning the 1985 12 Hours of Sebring as well.
Well, great to see that old video once again. And what did you think when you're standing there holding that microphone?
The old earpiece in there,
and
Bob just suddenly comes out of that string of foul words. I mean, what do? I mean, you can't say anything. You just didn't know what to do. But boy, he was very, very upset. But luckily for him, AJ stepped up to the plate. And of course, they won the race. And Preston Henn again in that 935. Very, very good run for them. And of course, so sad that Bob Wallach met a very untimely end just outside the Sebring Raceway, riding his bicycle, and got hit on the back of the head by the rear view mirror on a truck.
Passing truck.
I mean, just almost unbelievable. When you think of the miles that Bob Wallach did in a race car, gets killed on a bike, getting hit on the back of the head by a rear view mirror.
Always a passionate Frenchman, very much a part of the history here at the Rolex 24, as was Supertex, AJ Foyt. There was a reason he is who he is. And I can remember Chris Economaki walking up to Bob Wallach late in the race and saying, well, Bob, what's the state of Franco-American relations right now? After AJ Foyt went thundering through the darkness and the rain and set fast lap and they won the race. Well, it's okay. Thank you, Bob. And AJ, if you're looking in, celebrated a birthday not that long ago. I hope you're feeling well. One of the true living legends of the sport.
Well, of course, always a threat in the 500 here, too. I mean, just a strong runner in the 500 and the 125 qualifying races.
Thus far, the only man to win both the NASCAR Nextel Cup Daytona 500
There's your boy.
And this race. Salvador Duran trying to keep up with that astonishing young talent in the 42. Oh, well.
Boy, I thought Varshy was going to take him off then, but he resisted the temptation. It would have been almost too good for TV.
Oh, well.
I'm sure Mum's watching at home, Karen.
Okay, let's ride along and see what Salvador Duran is having to do, dancing on the brake and the throttle in these absolutely miserable conditions in the race-leading Lexus Riley.
Mist not too bad in that car, is it, really? And the wiper actually wiping the screen. Unheard of.
Let's listen to the engine.
But a lot of traffic in front, so now you get an idea of that spray. I mean, basically, you just leg it and hope for the best. They pull to the outside, and of course the guy in front has got eyes like you know, stuck out on piano stalks, because he's looking out the windscreen. He's not bothering with the rear view mirror much at this time. I love the
Oops.
full
course caution once again, and a safety car, the 12th in this year's Rolex 24. It's amazing. We started and went 200 laps without a full course caution on record pace. The chance to go over 2,800 miles in total distance, all things being equal, which of course they never are.
No, it was so strong there. I mean, it just went on and on and on.
Oh, that may be part of the reason. Look at that debris out there in the entrance to the the chicane. Yeah,
2 or 3 of them blown down there.
Some of those signs marking the chicane have been blown out on the racetrack. There's Tony Stewart, man in black, getting ready to climb into the number 20.
And that's Max Crawford's daughter there, talking to him, who is the sort of chef d'équipe. She runs the team. She is an aerodynamicist.
Married to Andy Wallace.
Married to Andy Wallace, and Andy Wallace says to his father-in-law, Max Crawford, said, my marriage is not working out too well. And he said, oh, why is that, mate? And he says, well, your daughter can't and won't cook. And Max says, well, she's a great aerodynamicist, though.
Yeah. What else could a guy want?
What else could he want? Yeah. Well,
there's part of the
sign.
problem. It's out by Lake Lloyd.
Seeing that spray from inside the leader's car there, it took me back to Spa, 1,000 kilometers in 1968. And 8-mile track, of course, through the Ardennes forest, no guardrail, just trees and ditches. And following somebody, I was following Jochen Neerpasch in the rain. I couldn't see it at all, and I'd followed him for a lap, and I thought, I got to get by this guy. He was in a 908. And coming down to the main straight, you go through a turn called Burnville, which is a long right-hander. And I looked across the apex of the corner, down the straight, could see it was clear, so I thought, right, I'm going to take him now. But unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, it was all sold because Jochen spun and took down the local bus stop. There was a bus stop made of plastic and aluminum, and the whole thing
sheared it right off.
Just sheared it right off, yeah. If he hadn't hit that, he would have dropped into a field.
Let's go down to Calvin Fish in the pits.
Well, the number 19 car, the Finley Motorsport entry, just makes his way out of pit lane. Rob Finley behind the wheel. Mike McDowell just jumped out, and these guys are really just trying to hang in there. They've had all sorts of issues all week long, had various engine drama. In fact, Bobby Labonte, one of the co-drivers in that machine, never got any laps in the car until the race itself. But right now, the number 20 machine is in, so another one of the NASCAR stars, Tony Stewart, we saw him getting kitted up. He's going to be getting back behind the wheel, and it's really a testimony to these guys that when you're many laps down, that they just keep battling on and getting behind the wheel. You know, Tony Stewart will give 100%. This guy's just amazing. He never even got in the car until Thursday afternoon, and didn't come to the test, didn't really get any laps. And I tell you, I was watching the timing screens. Within 6 laps, first time in the car this winter, he was up to speed and actually running laps a few tenths quicker than Andy Wallace had driven just before him. I'm not saying he's running quicker than Andy. Andy may not have optimized his lap time there, but certainly was immediately on the pace. So this team just has so much confidence in Tony when he gets behind the wheel. And we've seen him before when we saw him in the wet for the first time a few years ago. It took him about 3 to 4 laps. A few guys just took off, and the next thing you knew, he's right on the leader's tail. So Tony Stewart just knows how to drive the wheels of a race car. He had an unbeaten record going here this year with all of his sprint car stuff, but certainly victory is out of the question today.
And talk about there you see the doormat there, which he put down to wipe his feet on. Very, very easy to get into a car in rain like this. Your feet are wet, and of course slip off the pedals with disastrous consequences. So I'm surprised they didn't have a mechanic there wiping his feet with a rag, which is what they usually do.
Tell you what, old Smoke looked fairly trim getting into that car. There's been much talk about his new fitness program, and I'd say the results are showing. So Tony Stewart heads on track. We'll take a break and return.
When I ran the Rolex 24 and I needed a break, I had to go back to my hotel room, maybe take a shower, lay down for a little while. But when you win the Indy 500, you stay in your own motor coach. Hey, Buddy Rice.
What's going on?
You mind if we come in?
Oh, come on in.
You got a pretty nice pad here.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good place to come and relax at this busy track.
So many days on the road, you got to have your own motor coach to hang out in.
It makes life a lot easier. Definitely, you spend so much time on the road and running all these different series. This is definitely a big plus.
Now give us a little tour.
Yeah, no problem. You can see Chris from Sparkles there hanging out. Matt, my manager. These guys are all eating the finger foods that are sitting out, and got the big screen. Play a lot of PlayStation on this when you're on the road. Keep yourself occupied. A lot of World of Outlaw and Gran Turismo. We had this way. You can see the spread on the food. Like I said, just got out of the car, so we were eating. The wife made all that for us. As we keep heading back, get by the fridge here. Don't mind the stuff to the right. We don't have, those guys are dealing with all that stuff right now. Got to keep themselves occupied for 24 hours. As we keep going back here, this is where relax, like in a little while here, be taking a nap. Kind of got all my stuff laid out. Like I said, just got out of the car and trying to air everything out. Gets all hot and wet inside that car.
Now, buddy, I talked to Helio Castroneves earlier, and he was hopping around like a little kid who ate a whole box of Krispy Kremes. You actually going to get some sleep in here?
I'll definitely get a little bit of sleep. You're going to need about an hour or two cat nap for sure, but, you know, it always takes a little bit. It's hard when the cars are circulating. You're all pumped up.
Now, obviously, always feels good to take a shower. Let's check out the bathroom. That does not look like the bathroom that's in Dorsey's motorhome.
Well, I'm lucky enough to, you know, right now have a good shower in there. Washer and dryer, dry all of our, you know, driving gear off. But it's great to have a little piece of home with you on the road. It makes everything a little bit easier. Not that what we do is that big of a deal, but it just makes it a little bit nicer.
Well, I know you're busy. We appreciate coming by. You mind if we hang out, have a couple chips?
No, like I said, man, I just got out of the car. You guys need to beat it so I can get a nap and get ready for my 1:30 stint.
Good luck, man.
Thanks.
Well, thanks very much to Indy 500 champion Buddy Rice for showing us around. I'm sure the motorhomes were just like that back in about 1966 or so, David Hobbs.
Oh, my God. I mean, you can't believe it. I mean, one uniform for the whole race.
Now on board the 58 Red Bull car, let's have a look at the dashboard. There's an important safety feature involving Grand Am Rolex sports car racing we'd like to talk about. As you see Buddy at the controls on the dashboard, notice that yellow light flashing. That is added to tell the drivers when we're going to a full course caution, no matter where they are on the racetrack, so they can immediately check the mirrors, slow down, and wait for the safety car to take to the track. Now from an Indy 500 race winner to a neurosurgeon living the dream here at the Rolex. Let's go to Brian Till.
Well, Bob, for the diehard fans, they watched the piece last night on Jim Lowe. It's not rocket science, but it is brain surgery, Jim. We talked about your career as a neurosurgeon. You get to come out here and mix it up with the big guys, but not only are you guys mixing it up, you and your team, you've got a podium finish right now in GT. How does that feel based upon your expectations coming in here?
Well, you know, all along we said we're coming down here because we wanted to be serious about this, and we wanted to be, you know, where we are now. We wanted to be in that top spots. Johannes and Ralph and Jim are driving the wheels off the car. And, you know, couldn't have been unfolding any better than we had hoped.
And when the rain came down last night, it was your turn to drive. Were you excited about getting in the car?
Well, you know, I'm smart enough to know that I had three other guys who were better off in the car than I was. So I've been sitting in a nice dry chair for the last couple hours.
So it is brain surgeries, guys. You got to be smart. You got to be smart enough to know when to not get in the car, Calvin.
Well, one young driver who's smart enough to get out of the car when he had a problem was Mark Wilkins. Mark, a lot of firsts for you here. Run a 24-hour race in a Daytona prototype. Talk about the fact you'd never experienced a car without traction control in the wet here.
Well, with the amount of power these cars have and the amount of torque, it's very difficult to get the power down. There's a lot of puddling in the infield. It just makes it very challenging. So it's all about just being smooth on the throttle. And the Lexus guys gave us a great engine map, and you know, we're able to use that to be consistent and not make any mistakes.
Certainly this team having a great run. AIM Motorsports with the number 61 machine. Brian Massell behind the wheel. But before you came in the pits, you had a problem with the wipers. What happened there?
Yeah, just when we went back to green there, I felt something dangling around my legs. I looked down. I thought it was the power steering, but it's actually the wiper blade motor, or the wiper motor. And you know, the wiper shortly after stopped working and made it even more interesting. So we had to come in and do a stop and get that taken care of. In fact, they don't work now at all. So we're using a little Rain-X and hoping that will work.
Okay, well, they're certainly looking forward to these bright skies, but this is the wiper motor, guys. Here it is, and there you see the brackets. There's no way that this team can fix this right now, so they're praying we don't see any more rain today. Let's go back to Brian.
Calvin, problems for the 70 Mazda being driven by Randy Popes right now, 4th in the GT class. Some type of vibration and a handling issue out there. They thought it was a tire. He brought it in. Then he said maybe it's the sway bar. They changed tires. They checked the rear sway bar. Nothing wrong there. So Randy Popes right now not particularly happy with that Mazda. When we go back to green, we'll find out whether they fix the problem.
All right, thanks very much, guys. The rain has stopped, touch wood, for now. The sky is lightening. We've got hours and hours remaining here at the 45th edition of the Rolex 24. There is a car, battle-scarred, but running right at the front of the class. We'll take a break and return. Stay with us. Back live at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We have just gone green, and race leader Salvador Duran, right side of your screen there in the Telmex Ganassi Racing Lexus Riley, had to be boosted a little bit by race control. They said he was being a little too balky, queuing up the cars behind him before taking the green flag. We are back underway. No incidents through turns 1, 2, and 3. Through the kink, the high-speed left-hand dogleg, then hard braking for the long 180 horseshoe.
It's Darren Manning lying second and Dan Wheldon lying third. Old-time races from way back.
Oh, Manning,
all sorts of types of racing. Manning there would very like to get around that 01 car.
Maybe a little bit more concerned about the 02 in his mirrors. You can see just how wet it is. A huge puddle at the end of the backstretch in the chicane. Let's watch as the field.
Yeah, now you come up onto the banking here, as you can see, obviously the water's all running away from there, which is just great. But when we go on board, coming down into the chicane, you'll see some horrendous puddles, and especially on the exit of the chicane, because it's very, very flat as you come off this the track here has got a little bit of slope to it. You get down the chicane area, none at all. A lot of water standing here. You watch this lot coming up on just on the left here.
Here it comes.
Very deep.
Splash.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this lot here.
Oh, with that wall just outside as the drivers are getting on the gas. Let's see if they all make it through.
The old engine skipping a beat as it goes over that lot, I tell you. Wheels spinning, scrabbling for grip.
Just as we came on the air, Justin Jackson showed us exactly what can happen if you get it wrong coming off this high-speed chicane.
Spray coming off those rear tires.
Manning drops back just a little bit. Wheldon. The 23 Ruby Tuesdays car, which is a lap down. And then the 10 of Jan Magnussen of Denmark, who once nearly swept an entire season of British Formula 3 racing, and Sir Jackie Stewart proclaimed him perhaps the next superstar in Formula 1, but somehow it never quite worked out for Magnussen.
It was really weird that, I mean, everybody thought that he was going to jump into Formula 1 and be an absolute superstar. Jackie Stewart put it down, and he drove for Jackie Stewart. Jackie Stewart said that he just wasn't quite dedicated enough. He continued to smoke pretty heavily, and just somehow it never clicked, and it's such a shame because he looked like he was going to be an absolute superstar, but he's certainly doing a heck of a job here today. This car now running in 4th, only 1 lap down. At one stage was 5 laps behind in 22nd spot. So these guys have done a heck of a job. It gives you an idea what it looks like from the inside.
Romain Dumas behind the wheel. I said he was a lap down. I was speaking euphemistically. Actually 11 laps down at this point.
If you get to real top speed, of course, the water gets blown off the shield, so it's not so bad.
This is the Alex Drobe team. They were the fastest in this race last year, but had a number of mechanical problems, broken half shafts, that prevented them from winning. This year, once again, although they came in not as fast as they were a year ago, partly due to rules adjustments. Look at that splash. The Ruby Tuesday team has once again had a litany of mechanical problems as they try to work out the kinks in that Porsche Crawford. Doesn't seem to lack for speed right now.
Well, boy, he's humming right along there, going down the inside there of Dan Wheldon.
Plenty of time to go in this race.
It's Emmanuel Collard behind the wheel at the moment, a tremendous sports car driver and long distance driver. He too tried to do Formula One, and I think he had the skills, but he just got in the wrong cars at the wrong time and fell back on the sports car, and he's been an absolute stalwart. And obviously, as we saw there, now catching up with Darren Manning.
Over 4.5 hours to go in this race. That is longer than the standard sprint race format of about 2 hours 45 minutes in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. So imagine that. You've come this far, been through what you've been through, and you still have longer than your standard weekend race distance to go. Oh. Be still my heart. I thought Dan Wheldon might have been about to pirouette there in the horseshoe.
There he goes, Emmanuel down the inside of Manning. Unfortunately, turning in some really good laps, but just way too far out of contention.
While this action continues, let's hear from the youngest driver in this year's race, standing by with Brian Till.
Bob, you know, the theme of this event really has been the champions that are here, 77 of them, but what about the future champions? You just mentioned it. Auston Harris, just 16 years old, turned 16 back in December. For a guy like you, a young driver, to participate in an event like this at such a young age, what does that mean?
It means everything to me. I mean, be out there with the guys that I've watched growing up, and be say I've been on the track with them is like an awesome thing for me.
I know you don't have that much experience in cars, but you have done an endurance event. You did one last year, did you not?
Yeah, I did a 25-hour race out in California, 25-hour Thunder Hill in a BMW diesel, the BMW of North America, in their last final race, I think, for a few years.
And with two guys that know how to drive a BMW reasonably well.
Joey Hinn and Bill Arberlin, actually.
Yeah, couldn't be better co-drivers. Now, the other thing that's important about this race is that you actually get to prove to your buddies back at Hayward, California, that you actually are a race car driver.
Yeah, I don't think they believed me when I said I was an actual race car driver, so I told everybody to watch, and then you'll find out. So this is proving my point right here.
Hard to believe that drivers at this age are competing in these events. But remember, TRG did Team 16 and really launched the careers of drivers like Colin Brown in sports car racing and Brad Coleman moving on to stock cars, Bob.
That's right. And Ace Cario, who will be in the Champ Car Atlantic Series this year. Good luck to Auston Harris. He obviously has the skills.
And while we were looking at Auston there, Jan Magnussen in the number 10 car took a position away from Dan Wheldon in the 01 car. So old Jan Magnussen again, those sports car skills coming out. Now he's behind Darren Manning, who is a lap ahead of him at the moment.
I had a chat with Auston Harris during the weekend, as I did earlier this month during the pre-race test. And I must say he's an incredibly poised young man, just turned 16 years of age. And here he is on national television running in a race. Imagine telling a teacher, well, I'm going to have to miss 3 days or so of school. Why is that? Well, I'm running in a world-class endurance sports car event at Daytona.
Here goes old Jan Magnussen. Those old skills coming out into the chicane.
Boy,
a lot of wet here.
Without a shudder under braking on this wet surface.
And coming up, you can see the car twitching as it goes to that wall on the way out. But look how he's pulled away from Darren Manning, just going through that chicane.
Because he got that right foot planted just that little bit sooner. You saw a bit of a lurch under acceleration through the puddle. That's simply because the wheels had probably come off the ground, at least partly. We'll take a break and return. Plenty of action still to come from the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
We continue Speed's live coverage, the countdown to the checkered flag here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Good morning, everyone. Lee Diffie and Dorsey Schrader with you. We say a big thanks to Bob Varsha and David Hobbs and the boys down on pit road, Chris Neville, Mike Johnson, Calvin Fish and Brian Till. We're ready to roll. We're ready to wrap this up. We have got an exciting finish for you because there are a handful of cars still very much in contention for the Rolex 24 in 2007. 508 laps down, 9 different leaders, but the big thing there, the compelling statistic there, 12 caution periods. When we farewelled you late last night, East Coast time, only 3, and now there are 12, and there has been so much to talk about. Conditions are on the improve, though. As you can see, if you've been with us since early this morning, you'll notice that things are clearing up and getting a little more easy. Although that's not a word that springs to mind straight away when you see these slick, breezy track conditions. And of course, the very interesting mix of regular road racers, open wheel stars, and NASCAR Nextel Cup champions. How are they placed? Well, Jeff Gordon, Bobby Labonte are doing the best so far. It was a really tough day for Tony Stewart and the entire 20 team. And Jimmy Johnson just outside the top 10 at the moment. That paints the picture for you as we get back to racing. It's been quite an intriguing night, Dorsey.
I'll tell you what's going on right now. The road race guys, the guys that do this for a living, are really shining. Most particularly Thomas Enga, Roma Duma are lapping at 3 seconds a lap faster than any other car in the field. That is amazing, and it's of course due to this rain, the wet conditions that they're used to.
Well, Dumas' last lap was a flat 2 minute, 2 minutes even, 0.6. So he is flying. And that is in the 23 Ruby Tuesday Porsche Crawford. And we'll keep an eye on Roma. He's 498 laps down as we ride with him now, the Frenchman. It's only his third appearance at the Rolex 24. He did one in a GT car and one in a Daytona prototype. And this all-star lineup of he, Patrick Long and Jorg Bergmeister, it really hasn't gone their way. And you would say at this stage, with just under 5 hours remaining, they're a little far out of it. But as we know from years gone by, 44 years gone by, anything can happen with this amount of time remaining.
On the other hand of that coin is the fact that this is the time that you want to put a specialist in to make up that ground. If you can lap 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field, you know, conceivably you can start getting laps back. A caution comes. We've been seeing a lot of cautions repetitively. You can get a lap back that way as well. So we've seen cars come back from 4 or 5 laps down. It is possible.
Fiorano Racing is a pretty slick organisation. They've teamed with Allegra Motorsports. And Jean-Francois Dumoulin, the French-Canadian behind the wheel, he is a very fast driver. And let's hear more about this team now with Mike Johnson.
Well, earlier in the race, this team was 5 laps down, and with Carlos de Quesada, the owner and driver of the car, how have you guys been slowly kind of reeling these guys back in?
Well, we've just been, you know, taking it easy, just playing it smart, just good pit strategy, and just being smart out there. We got rid of all our mistakes at the beginning, and it's just backing off and taking it easy now and just clicking them off. So.
Well, now you got JF Dumoulin in there. He's actually French-Canadian, so he's used to driving in the wet. Probably perfect conditions for him.
Well, he won here in 2003. He won the GT class, and pretty much in the same situation with the rain. So he's got plenty of experience.
Now, we've talked about a lot of the larger teams here running GT class. I wanted to step back and take a look at the grid. This is just a 1-car effort going up against 5- and 4-car teams. And if you look over next to me, we've got the Salines Motorsports and how spread out they are. All the parts, all the spares, everything they need. These guys over at the 22 are just having a great run and just really happy.
Well, it's a good operation down there at Allegra Motorsports, Fiorano, and it's a good foursome that they've got there. Mark Basseng, Carlos de Quesada, who we just heard from, JF Dumoulin, and Scooter Gable. Scooter ran into some trouble very early in the race. You may remember yesterday when he spun off at turn 1. No damage really done to the car, but they will very much stay in the hunt. It's a great mix in the GT class, mind you. Leading is Dirk Werner for Farnbacher Lowes Motorsport. Then we have got the GM effort, the Pontiac GXPR of Paul Edwards sitting second, and Johannes van Overbeek in the Jim Lowe TRG Porsche running third. And that class is hot, and Dumoulin is sitting fourth. So we'll keep you updated on that. And the highest placed GT car, Dirk Werner, is not that far out of the top 10. He's sitting in 13th place. Great effort. Salvador Duran, Darren Manning on screen.
Track drying pretty much now. You see a pretty distinctive dry line starting to form around the outside. As long as we don't get any more showers, it won't take long now before that dry line will mandate tire changes.
After Manning lost his IndyCar Series ride, he was kind of left a little out in the cold, and he wasn't quite sure what his future held. He was forced into broadcasting and back in Europe. I caught up with him at the British Grand Prix last year. And he said, look, I'm trying as hard as I can to make something happen. And it's one of those situations, Dawes, as you well know, in motor racing, when you're looking for a drive as hard as you can, sometimes they don't come. When you relax a bit, well, suddenly the phone starts ringing. And that's how it happened for Darren Manning. He's with Foyt in the IndyCar Series this year, And to be back in sports cars, he's really excited.
And it has so much to do about when you're released. If you're released in the middle of a season, there are no rides to have. They're all taken. And you have to just, you know, you have to go to a plan B. As he said, he went to broadcasting and then hold out and wait out for our next season to come around.
Jan Magnussen starting to work on Dan Wheldon. There is nothing between these guys. They're just one lap back from the lead cars. 510 laps, place 5:11, and that's the distance between third and fourth. Manning on your left. Here in the target, Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabates, Lexus Riley. And then this right of screen there in the SunTrust Riley is Jan Magnussen. Chris.
Lee down here with AJ Foyt IV. AJ, this is your first run at the Rolex, also Vision's first run. How do you guys feel about what you're doing right now?
We've had our problems early and a few problems along the way, but I think everybody's doing fine. We're pretty much, our whole team is rookies, so we're having a good time, and the rain's definitely changed a lot of things up for us, so I'll be hopping in here in a little bit and see how it goes.
Most of your experience in Formula cars, how are you liking the sports car thing?
It's been really fun. It's been a great experience, and I look forward to doing more of it.
Well, we definitely like to see him back here. His grandfather won with Bob Wallach quite a few years ago. I think we documented that earlier.
And the 00 Vision car is 23rd in our order. Ed Carpenter behind the wheel at the moment. Let's join this battle, though, because Thomas Enger is really starting to hustle this Samax car. And he's right here with Jan Magnussen now.
And Jan Magnussen is not someone that normally in the rain is going to be that easy to run down, is he? And quite a good driver in the rain in his own right. But Thomas Enger turning lap times, like I said before, in about a 1 second now faster than most of the field is able to accomplish.
Look at Thomas Enger's trying to force the issue on the inside. Magnussen gets a little squirrely. This is not for position, as Enger is down on 510 laps. Magnussen is 5:11. That's why Jan has given him the easy passage through on the inside. Enger has a storied past. He was the first driver, the first Czech driver to ever make it to Formula One. And he has driven just about everything since. He's currently driving in A1 Grand Prix. He's raced in the ALMS, the Le Mans Endurance Series, and he's had success at the Le Mans 24-hour as well. Great driver, very talented, and very fast. Will he be able to get another lap back? If he keeps this pace going, he will, and that will put yet another Samax Pontiac Riley into contention for this great race.
You know, a savvy driver in road racing, as these drying conditions present themselves, a smart driver can start making changes in the car to make the car better. He'll start stiffening the sway bars because he's starting to get more grip. He'll start putting more front brake in the car because he would have taken some front brake out because the braking forces aren't as great when the conditions are slippery. So as you tune the car, as you feel that you can get more and more grip, you tune the car, you go faster and faster.
In the 59 at the moment, it is the legend, Hurley Haywood. 5th overall. But if that Samax Pontiac Riley with Thomas Enger behind the wheel continues to lap at the speed it is, it may not be too much further before Hurley's fifth spot is under siege, because Enger is flying. Jan Magnussen has made some tremendous progress as well. And for the dramas that the SunTrust Wayne Taylor racing car has experienced throughout this race thus far, that is a mighty effort for this car to be where it is right now. Well, this race is full of champions, including our current Daytona prototype champion, Jorg Bergmeister.
Jorg, right now you guys had some problems in the beginning of the race, changed out that alternator, but you got one of the fastest cars on the track right now. Is there still enough time to get back in the lead?
No, I don't think so, except the other guys got some problems, which it doesn't look like right now. But the car's actually pretty good in the rain right now. And I think we found a pretty good compromise for dry and rain. I'm really happy with it.
Now, last year you drove a Riley chassis to the championship, drove on the left side of the car. Now you're on the right side of the car in a Crawford. Any major differences between the two?
Yeah, there's more car on the left side, so you actually have to be careful. It took a while to get used to that, but now I'm into it and it's not a problem anymore.
Now, this is also everyone's first experiences really in the rain without the traction control. How has that been? And are the star drivers, maybe even the road course specialists, really starting to shine right now?
I mean, that might be an advantage for the Porsche engine. We have less torque than the V8, so the drivability is really good, and I mean, it's good in the rain.
All right, well, these guys are still fighting very hard to come back to the lead, and Jorg Berg, they were doing doubles throughout the night, but now with the rain and the changing conditions, they're all going to singles through the rest of the race.
Yeah, they've done a good job, haven't they? Jorg Bergmeister, one of the best sports car drivers in the world at the moment, and yet another full season coming up for him with the Rolex Sports Car Series and American Le Mans Series. Romain Dumas continues to punch out great lap times. He's 8th overall, but the Mexican Salvador Duran is our race leader. He's doing it for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates, and he's doing a good job, but Manning continues to hunt him down. Taffel car on pit road.
They're putting slicks on this one. I really believe myself that is the right call at this point. I don't think we have rain impending right now. It looks like it's pretty dry.
It's a foursome of Dieter Questa, Lars-Erik Nielsen, Brent Martini, a former Rolex Series Co-GT champion, and Philip Peter. Back to it now, to our race leader. Where will this guy end up in his racing career? So much praise has been heaped upon him. He's allegedly off to Europe to do some more racing in addition to his A1 Grand Prix duties. And we get into the regular North American, Northern Hemisphere racing season. So we'll wait and see whether it is some World Series by Renault later this year. Telmex has a stable of drivers and they would like to penetrate that European market. So that may just be Salvador Duran's duty for 2007.
However, Darren Manning, who's running second right there, you see him in the 11th Sitco, is much quicker. He's 3 seconds, as a matter of fact, a lap quicker than what Salvador is running right now.
Well, look, don't forget, he's an Englishman. He is used to driving on road courses. He is used to driving in the rain.
Have to keep a look at the times on these cars that have just come in and put the slick tires, the dry tires on. I suspect they're going to be lapping a lot quicker shortly. Once these tires get temperature in them, I think the grip level on those is going to take them to a much faster lap time.
Darren came up through the junior Formula E and then spent some time in Japan with Formula Nippon and was working out which direction to go. Got his big break back in 2002 in the Champ Car World Series at the one and only Champ Car race at Rockingham Motor Speedway. And just put in a phenomenal performance, and that's what opened up his open wheel career here in North America. As we slide back to the famous 59, the Brumos Porsche, with Hurley Haywood still behind the wheel, now in 4th, courtesy of that pit stop from the target car. The 0-2.
This car's only 1 lap down. It's definitely in the contention. I mean, it would be great to see Hurley able to win another one of these 24-hour Rolexes.
Look, we never like to discount anyone, but if you were to draw a line across the timing and scoring screen that we have in front of us, you would say the top 6 are still very much in the mix. Brian Frizzell in the AIM Autosport Lexus Riley is down in 7th, and he's at 510 laps against 520 for our race leader Salvador Duran. But you've got Duran and Manning all on the same lap. Then you've got Magnus and Haywood on the same lap. Rojas, Enger are the next in it. So you've got 6 cars very much in contention for victory in this year's Rolex 24, which is outstanding. To be going as long as we are with just 4.5 hours remaining and have half a dozen cars all with a shot, a serious shot at winning this race is brilliant.
I think Salvador Duran was listening to us on the radio about Darren Manning catching him up because he just turned an equal 3-second lap, quicker lap time. And of course, a lot of that could be traffic as well.
Well, this would be very exciting times for Brumos. At the same time, it's a bittersweet situation, isn't it? The 58 was taken out in a completely bizarre crash. Wrong place, wrong time for Scott Sharp late last night. However, that's why you run a 2-car team. If one suffers some misfortune, the other one can carry the hopes of the team. And someone who is fresh from the inside of one of the Ganassi Lexus Rileys is Dan Wheldon. He's with Chris.
Yeah, Lee, and also a guy who knows how to win this race. Did it last year. Dan, the car was 2 laps down. You're only 1 lap down now. Some of the teams starting to lay out dry tires. You guys stayed with the wet weather tires. What's the track like?
It's kind of pretty greasy right now, but what I've learned about the Hoosier tires is the fact that you can still keep them on as as it dries out pretty considerably. Actually, we wouldn't be able to do that in Indy cars, but the Hoosier tire definitely seems to be able to go a little bit longer in the damp conditions. So we're just trying to make up a little bit of time right now, so we'll have to wait and see.
Mamo is a rookie, and he did take the car off last night. Did you give him any words on the track conditions right now? Anything, hey, guy, you got to take it easy out there. We're still in contention.
No, I mean, it's pretty, it's just greasy out there. It was real damp, and we struggled a little bit in the heavy rain with aquaplaning, but you know, once it dried out a little bit and stopped aquaplaning, the car was really good.
Good luck, keep going, bud. Looks like the 01 is also in pit lane. That would be Salvador Duran getting out, Montoya getting behind the wheel, and didn't get a chance to see what the team put on. It looks like they did pull off wet weather tires. I just don't know if they put on dries or just new wets.
95 Formula One Grand Prix starts, 7 victories, 30 podiums, as he says what he needs to say to himself, and a small prayer, and away he goes. The Colombian, who has excited this Rolex 24 field. Can he remain in the lead when it comes time? 1:30 this afternoon. Manning has inherited the lead for Samax. This is going to be a great race. We continue at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. For those of you just turning on the West Coast, thanks for joining us so early. But you have got something well and truly worth turning on for, because we have a great race at the front of this field in the Rolex 24. Lee Diffie, Dorsey Schrader with you. Mike Johnson and Chris Neville down on a wet and greasy but drying pit road. Chris went out there looking like a moonwalker this morning, fearing he was going to get half drowned. But, well, thankfully, the sun is just now starting to punch through the cloud line here in Central Florida. Here are the important statistics for you. We're up over 500 laps already. There's been 12 cautions. And shortly we'll show you some overnight highlights for those of you just tuning in, because it was a very eventful night. And our respective leaders are one Pablo Montoya, who's just taken the wheel of the 01 Telmex Chip Ganassi Lexus Riley, and Paul Edwards in the Pontiac, the new Pontiac GXP-R. Wow, what an accomplishment that would be if they would win on debut. As we ride with Montoya, we will rejoin him shortly, because we need to take a look at some overnight highlights. And I tell you what, Scott Sharp, wrong place, wrong time. Tom Malloy in the 41 Team Salem Porsche slammed into the side of AJ Armendinger, which ricocheted him into Scott Sharp, and they lost so much time in the pits. The Jackson Hewitt Subway, Pontiac Crawford had its share of dramas as well. There was an incident with the 82 Porsche, and it caused major drama to the track, and it forced a red flag. Race director Mark Raffoff tells us more.
This particular incident was just in an awkward place, and it's just something that requires it to be done right, and to do it right, like I said, we have to block the track with some heavy equipment, and rather than have guys driving around, you know, off course or in odd places, it was much more practical just to stop, and we have a process for that that allows the crews here at the Speedway to fix the thing and fix it right.
Now, the driver involved was Chris Pallas in the 82 Porsche. He was seen and released from the infield care centre, which is a great sign. One Pablo Montoya kept a watchful eye on the weather on the internet, because it was cause for concern. He wasn't too happy either, but he, like everyone else, had to deal with wet, slippery, slick and challenging conditions. Yes, the skies opened up, the rain came down, and it did not stop for hours. And literally just now we are seeing full sunlight bathing the Daytona International Speedway. Cautions flew all through the night. Changes, repairs had to be made, front end, rear end, to suspension, to brakes, to tyres, and wet weather tyres were the most. The enthusiasm shown by Jeff Gordon has been quite remarkable in this event. He wasn't running off to stay in his motorhome. He was watching every lap this car turned when he could, outside of needing sleep. The 59 Brumos Porsche, well, it has put in a stunning performance to keep the hopes alive down there in this famous Florida team. And the 85 Porsche for Farnbacher Lowells has been a standout performer in the GT class. So let's hope that brings you up to date with what went down overnight. Sadly, there have been some retirements. Well, that's just the nature of the Rolex 24. There are your 3 Daytona prototypes out of this race. the 3, the 16, and the 18. It's been a higher GT attrition rate, as you can see. And here is our class-leading car in GT, the 07 Banner Pontiac GXP-R Dorsey. This is quite an incredible performance. We'll get back to that. Mike Johnson has more.
Well, the 07 car just left. Now, they went another 3 laps longer on their reins than the 85 car did, which lost them about 5 to maybe 7 seconds since the other car, the 85, was on, put their slicks on earlier. So I imagine by now, by the time they recycle themselves, you're going to see the 85 car retaking the lead. Over to Chris.
Well, the 59, Brumos Porsche, 4th overall right now. Hurley Haywood getting out, Roberto Moreno getting behind the wheel. This team opting for the slicks. Now, they're not going for brand new slicks. These are worn ones, so hopefully they'll get a little bit more grip on these opening laps when they go out. Also, the 11 car, the Citgo machine with Darren Manning behind the wheel, was in just a couple laps ago. They were another team that opted for the slick tires, so we're starting to see that transition at this point in time. So in our top 5 cars right now, we've got 2 cars on slicks, 2 cars that just came in and got rains, and the 10 machine should be in pit lane probably in the next few laps. Going to be interesting to see what Magnussen goes with.
These cars with the slicks are showing up on the timesheet now. The time's dropping quickly, and Magnussen at a 1:53. Juan Pablo Montoya 56. So that's the right call right now. It's definitely a drying track, and the sun is fully out.
It is on at the front of this race. Now, this isn't first and second. This is currently second and fourth. Darren Manning is about to put a move here on Mimo Rojas in the 02 Target Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabatis Lexus Riley. Now, this is not for position. It's the 01 Ganassi car that is leading with Juan Pablo Montoya, who's a little further up the road. Manning is second, Magnussen is third, Rojas on screen there is fourth, Enger is fifth, Roberto Moreno, who's just taken the wheel of the 59, as Chris detailed, is sixth. And then Brian Frizzell in the AIM Autosport Lexus Riley is seventh. Romo Dumas for Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing is eighth. Michael McDowell in the Finlay Ford Crawford is ninth. And Oriel Servia in the Ford Doran, the Kodak Easy Share car, rounds out the top 10.
Now the top 6, Lee, are all within 1 lap of each other. So you know the guys that are just a little bit, a half a lap away from getting their lap back. They are on full kill right now. They're trying to make these lap times to get by those lead cars, get back on that lead lap.
For those of you tuning in on the West Coast, just want to update you on Gaston Mazzacane in the Porsche Fab car who crashed heavily last night. You may remember the black 18. He crashed heavily on the infield. He was knocked out. He was unconscious for around about 8 minutes. And he was admitted to Halifax Medical Centre following his crash on lap 261. He was awake and alert and will undergo a precautionary X-ray and CAT scan. So on the mend, and it sounds like nothing too serious at the moment. So we wish Gaston Mazzacane well as Darren Manning is able to execute the pass on Mimo Rojas. Now, he is about, looking out of our announce booth window, he's probably about half a mile behind race leader Juan Pablo Montoya. So let's monitor Darren Manning's progress. Last lap, he and Montoya, there was nothing in it, about half a second in their last lap. A 1:55.8 plays a 1:55.2. So they're running comparable lap times.
And look at Magnussen, who's right behind them at a 1:52.6. He's making 3 seconds a lap.
Chris.
Guys, now remember, Manning is the only car in those top 3 right now on the slicks. So right now is going to be that transition period where we're going to probably start seeing Manning being the guy who's going to start being able to drop those times further, where Montoya and Magnussen are probably going to level off here pretty soon as the track is continuing to dry. Now, Magnussen has not been in yet, so they are going to be able to come in, get those slick tires. Montoya probably going to have to come back in. Remember, he was just in here about 5 minutes ago, so that team possibly making a critical mistake here, losing a lot of their lead by not going with the slick tires if this track continues to dry out.
So Chris, they did go with wets when Montoya went out, huh?
Montoya did go out on wet. So right now in that top 3, the only one on slicks is Manning.
Great move from the Samax team. We're looking at Helio Castroneves, full of enthusiasm, full of excitement, as always. This is his first Rolex 24 at Daytona, first time in a Daytona prototype, and he's done a pretty good job. The 6 Mike Shank racing car follows him out of pit road. Ian James is behind the wheel, and they're down in 26th position.
Well, Jan Magnussen might be turning these exceptional laps because he knows he's going to have to come in and get those tires if that's the case. mean, to be 3 seconds a lap quicker than guys that you know are really good drivers, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Now we're starting to talk. Darren Manning's now down into the 153s against Montoya's 154.5, and Magnussen is in. It's time to change. Chris, are they going to slicks?
They are going to slicks, Lee. They're stickering up down here. Four slick Hoosiers. Magnussen going to stay behind the wheel. This team really going after it now. They know they can make up some time. They're hoping to get Mags out there, get the car up to speed really quick. Now, he did shut down the car. I don't know why he would have done that, because these pit stops only take about 30 seconds. This late in the race, you got to get worried when you shut the car down. Is it going to refire? So we're going to have to pay attention to that. The team really taking their time here. This is getting to be a long pit stop, guys. Now, the fuel is still going in. The front right is not on the car yet. Fuel is done, still working on the tires. So the team taking a little extra minute down here, but definitely a little bit of a longer pit stop. Kind of unusual. They were trying to be tracking down that Ganassi car.
That was a miscue on that front tire. Why he shut it off was because you saw the radiator screen completely clogged. The mechanic there cleaning that screen off forgot about the right front tire.
Unique Whips premieres February 21st at 10 p.m. Eastern right here on Speed. This February, the most tricked out show on television returns for another sizzling season. Unique Whips with some of the wildest rides and stars like Pamela Anderson. February 21 right here on Speed. Looking at Paul Tracy for Mike Shank Racing. He'd just taken over from Ian James and had an off-track excursion. Dorse, talk us through.
Paul Tracy coming down into turn one. He gets a little bit too much braking, spins the car out. Now watch this. As he goes around, he's trying like crazy not to get this thing in the guardrail. He spins it the other way. That's all driver control. Just nudges into the tires. Now, did a great job, Lee, of getting this car in reverse, getting it out of the tire wall, back on the racetrack. No damage done whatsoever, and his radiator is not clogged.
We were during the commercial break with saying to each other, well, this is going to be another full course caution. It wasn't. PT remained patient and was very clever in just gingerly easing that car back away from the tire barrier and able to get going
and
again.
You see, he never gave up on the car. Even after it had spun, he was in the grass. He reversed the direction of the car, scrubbing it off. Now, there's Juan Montoya. Sorry about that. And look how relaxed he is behind the wheel. I think they made a big mistake when they brought him in and put him on wet weather tires with a pretty drying track with the sun out. This is a very, very skilled driver. Not needless to say. I mean, if anybody could carry the car for at least 3 or 4 or 5 laps, he could have done it.
Considering you worked with him when he first got going in Skip Barber at Sebring, you've forgotten his name already?
Well, no, I've never forgotten his name. And I've never forgotten how good he was, even at that point where he couldn't even speak English yet. It's just hard to say.
Well, while we were away, something else crucial that happened was the one Pablo Montoya stop for slick tires. Chris, I know you were there at the time. What did you see?
Yeah, well, Montoya went up in the air, and Manning came right down the front straightaway and took the lead. So Montoya giving up the lead during that pit stop, finally coming in and getting those slick tires. He did go with stickers, but it's going to take a few minutes or a few laps here to get those tires up to temperature and get some grip out of them. So Ganassi losing the lead during that last pit stop. Now we talk about, hey, what a mistake. They probably should have gone with the slicks earlier, but the track was very wet. They were leading. They were just being a bit more conservative, and they had to come in because they needed the fuel. So, you can roll the dice either way, but they just played it a bit conservative.
And Chris, when Jan Magnussen came in several laps ago and he put his slicks on, he was not going very quickly until this lap right now. That's how long it took for the slick tires to come up to temperature. Magnussen just dropped into the 149 category.
149.9 versus Montoya's 152.8. Almost a 3-second difference between these guys. This is the race leader, Darren Manning, in the 11 Sitco Pontiac Riley, and who is just going steadily out front. Nice, consistent laps, keeping it clean, keeping it smooth. But the gap between Magnussen and Montoya for Magnussen to get onto the lead lap is diminishing. Very soon, we could have 3 cars on the lead lap of this motor race.
And that is a scary deal if you get that 10 car back on the lead lap. With all the problems they had early on, and with that driver lineup, that 10 car is very potent.
Look out. Still loads of time. Way more than a regular Rolex Sports Car Series race with 4 hours, 10 minutes remaining. So it's an extended period of time, but they're in the zone now, aren't they? They are really in the zone. Ryan Dial, Milka Duno, Patrick Carpentier, and this man here, Englishman Darren Manning.
Who just now clocked in at a 1:48.1. The pedal is down on the sit-go 11.
Makes a difference when there's no traffic, huh?
Absolutely, makes a huge difference. And the track's drying, and all these tires are coming up to temp now.
Speaking of tyres, you may have heard Bob allude to it earlier that Pirelli Competizione, the Italian tyre manufacturer, will hold the license for the control tyre in the Rolex Sports Car Series from 2008 onwards. So Hoosier will see the year out. Hoosier, in fact, will remain with the Coney Challenge, but Pirelli next year for DP and the GT classes. Now,
that is Montoya, the second place car going into the International Horseshoe. There is Darren Manning, who is about a half a lap ahead going down the back straightaway into the bus stop. So that's about a half a lap that's going to be made up before that can happen.
This is Thomas Enger, who has brought the 7 in. Chris?
This machine currently running 4th overall right now, still down, I think, a lap. Thomas Enger really doing a great job getting out, handing it over to Chris Vesta. Looks like he's having a difficult time getting the car started here. Looks like the team's going to have to push start the car. They did shut it down. You know, one of those things, not a good thing to do this late in the race, trying to get these things restarted. Vesta finally gets it going. Looks like this team is out, but everything really coming together for this Samex team. You got 2 cars in the top 5.
Well, they're fighting for that 4th overall place with Roberto Moreno and Mimo Rojas. Moreno is an interesting one to talk about. He has just completed, over the past several months, 2,500 miles of testing of the new Panos Champ Car chassis. Did it all at Sebring and really got himself, he said, it took ages for it to happen. He said, just to get myself into the zone. He said, but now I feel as fit and as race focused as I ever have. As we get back to this battle, this is Jan Magnussen, who's just gone through the kink. Now let's see if we can pick up where Juan Pablo Montoya is. Montoya is coming through the tri-oval. So it's about half a lap gap from 1st to 2nd, and then 2nd to 3rd.
Yeah, we're about a half a lap each. Now, lap time-wise, that time, Darren Manning stepped up to the plate, 47 flat. Magnussen, 47.1. Montoya, 49.4. So Mags is catching Juan Pablo.
Weather is stable. No doubt about that. And as we look out the announce booth window, definitely a dry line. Whoa!
Good save.
That looked like Montoya is getting a little squirrely, and Helio Castroneves has no rear deck lid.
60 car all tore up, no rear deck lid. Look at the rear exhaust pipe left side, it's smashed shut. So the engine performance is hindered quite drastically with that. That car is just tore up. You see it when he comes around the corner. Look at the 2 exhaust pipes. The left side one is not even open anymore.
Been running like that for some time, as you all know. But
and there's a fueling thing stuck in the side of it as well. It's a big fuel. Look on the side of the car. They went by too fast to draw on it. Part of the fuel rig is sticking out of the quick dry brake, which I'm surprised they're letting it run like that.
There was so much excitement for this car and this team.
There it is, right up in here.
Coming into this race, but it has been in the wars.
Now it's not what it is either. I'm sorry. It's something
since the beginning of the weekend. Mike.
Yeah, down here with Lee Keene, co-driver for the 85. Your co-driver right now, Jorg Bergmeister, is actually pulling away from everybody right now, about 5 to 6 seconds a lap.
Yeah, this Shoes for Cruiser car, Porsche has just been doing a beautiful job. The guys here at Farmacher Lowell's are just magicians, really. I mean, the car prep and everything is good. The guys in the pits are doing an awesome job. Right now, basically, we just want to stay green, and then we will be able to get a lap up.
Now, you were one of the first teams to come in and risk trying to put on the slick tires, but now it's pulled up and be a huge advantage because as soon as he got in there, he was going 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster than the 07. Were you surprised to see them wait that long to pull their car in for slick tires?
Yeah, just a little bit. Like you said, get out earlier on the slicks, and it works out better. Jorg is doing an awesome job, so he can go out and kind of work around for a couple of laps, get them heated up, and keep it on the track. So it benefits us well.
Well, when the 85 car came in, they had a 50-second lead. They lost the lead. Now their lead is up to a 40 seconds. So the pit strategy down here in the GT is just as important as it is up there in DP land.
Speaking of Daytona prototypes, here's an interesting one. I mentioned yesterday at an early stage in the broadcast, this is actually the very first Riley chassis ever built. This was the original Ganassi car. Now it belongs to AIM Autosport. David Empringham, the very successful Canadian driver behind the wheel, team with the Frizzell brothers and young Canadian Mark Wilkins, who will share those rides with the Frizzells this year. And they're in 7th outright. Super performance. If they can finish in the top 10, they will be thrilled. We'll be back.
Welcome back to the 45th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Here with Steve Johnson. Steve, you had the pole-sitting car in GT. We talked to you at the beginning of the broadcast yesterday. However, late in the night, things just didn't go your way.
You know, we were in great shape. 3 o'clock in the morning, we're in 5th position. We're making a charge. I'll be kind enough not to name the driver or the car, but this guy lost all brain function and hit us on a restart. It was completely avoidable. It's too bad because we spent an hour in the garage fixing that. And we can run 31 laps here easy in 1 hour. If you add that to how many laps we have, we're the race leader right now. So it's tough, but I'm going to get in the car, and I'm going to finish this last 2 hours here in a bit. And I can promise you, if I get a chance to feed that guy some tire barrier for breakfast, it's going to happen.
Well, now Steve Johnson is the ex-football player, so you have to wonder, does that mean he's going to use the car to feed him the barrier? Or is he going to use his own arms?
Either way, he can get it done. Let me tell you about that. Big boy. Steve Johnson, really like him. We have a good time with him.
Yep. Some great old images of Steve Johnson. Played tight end for Virginia Tech, for the New England Patriots, and of course, the Cowboys. And one of the lines that we used yesterday was he's been on the football field with the best, and now he's on the racetrack with the best in the world. And whoever that driver was picked the wrong car to hit.
Well, he's a really nice guy. I mean, he really is, but I don't think you want to get on the bad side of him, that's for sure. And apparently someone has done just that.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? Something that doesn't feature on drivers' resumes, brain fade.
Yes, it does. It happens.
The 42.
It's Matt Varsha's car.
Team Salem Porsche is in. I think Matt's pretty thrilled because he's done a lot more driving than what he had anticipated this weekend.
Yeah, at first they thought he was going to get one stint in the middle of the night to help the guys out, but the difficulties on the racetrack with the rain and whatnot, I think the older, wiser gentleman in that car said, Matt, how about driving in this rainforest for a while? And of course, Matt says, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. Great young driver, Matt Varsha. I'm very impressed with his abilities. Of course, winning a Mazda Pro Series race, Star Mazda race last year, Three Rivers, Canada. That made all of us happy, no question about that. And he'd been knocking on the door for quite some time, running in the top 5 in a very competitive series. Car contact there just a little bit.
Montoya trying to stick it up the inside and then thought about it twice. It's Chris Fester that he's coming up on. And that little moment will be costly in time at a point in time when Jan Magnussen is reeling him in.
Yeah, he's a second a lap quicker right now, Jan Magnussen is. He just ran a 46.6. Juan Montoya was at a 7.7, so exactly a second in a tenth. And now he's flashing the headlights. He doesn't want another incident. This will be a clean pass down to the bus stop. Top 3 cars running the most incredible laps right now. All 3 drivers being told that the race is fully on.
Absolutely, it is. All running in the 1:47 bracket, and at this stage of the race, with this track in the condition that it is because of the weather, that is quite remarkable. They are hauling. They are going. Here's the 66 TRG Porsche. And frustratingly for those boys, they are well down the order in 41st position. Some dramas overnight. However, when it's time to leave the track and help start planning for the rest of the season and next year's Rolex 24, Kevin Buckler has plenty to occupy his time.
Our other big interest and passion, and my personal interest, has always been in wine. I've been a wine lover and enthusiast all my life. And when we started Adobe Road, it was myself and a couple of friends just making wine on the side up at his ranch. And it continued to grow and sort of morph into a hobby turned into a passion, turned into a business. So we've taken it from this tiny little micro producer to this next year we'll probably crush close to 6,000 cases. So although we're very small and very boutique, we make 8 different.
We'll come back to that story about Kevin Buckler's wine at a later date, because this is drama. Memo Rojas has crashed the 02 Target Chip Ganassi Lexus.
Extensive damage the way it looks to me, Lee. Memo Rojas, you look toward the wing area, the back, that seems to be not in good shape. I see damage on the front as well. He's up against the tire barrier. You see the car has just fired. He's got it back. He's going to try to get back underway. It's going to be without the nose if he does, for sure.
There's damage on the back too, Dorsey, isn't there? That's gone in hard. That has gone in hard. Here's the replay.
This is down into turn 1, breaking into 1. We got a slower car in front, GT car.
To Matt Connolly, BMW.
Oh, now he's lock up in front of him. He's out in the wet. He just got pushed out into the wet. Round he goes.
That's exactly the same as Paul Tracy, and he kept his foot in it, tried to bring it round.
This might not be. No, it's a good hit. That's a pretty good hit. Left front corner is going to have damage for sure, maybe even the left rear. In any event, I don't see him driving out of there as Paul Tracy was able to.
That is buried. Let's take a look at that again on replay, but real time, not slow-mo, and you'll see how dramatic it was and the force of that hit. That's how quickly it can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And all that because he was passing the BMW, went offline to the outside, got into where the track was still wet. No chance of saving that one.
Now that takes Rojas out of the top 5 and dramatically hurts, if not completely evaporates the chances of Scott Dixon and Dan Wheldon repeating their victory.
Well, he was already 3 laps down, trying to make up ground, and of course now he's going to lose many, many more laps.
Race leading car is in. This is Darren Manning for Samax, the Sitco Pontiac Riley. What an effort so far. There's a driver change about to occur, and Chris is there.
Yeah, Lee, I'm actually down at Ganassi right now, so I'm quite a ways away, but I know Ryan Dial is going to get behind the wheel of that car. I spoke with Dial just a couple minutes ago. I said, man, you're going to be going out there. You're probably going to be taking the lead of this thing. You're going to be out there with the likes of Magnussen and Montoya. You ready for it? And he said, you know what? I am so excited about how we're doing. I am ready for it. Everything is going my way right now. I'm moving over to the Champ Car Championship this year. I'm just having a great time with my career at this point in time. And yesterday, I was out there racing against Jimmy Johnson for the lead, and I was having the best time of my life because that guy's my hero.
Very good pit stop lead, no question about that. They put 4 tires and fuel in. Ryan Dial on his way to the lead.
Now, Montoya in. Chris?
Being held.
Well, Montoya back to pit lane. You know, he was just here a little while ago to get those slick tires as he lost the lead when they did that. So right now, just putting a new set of slick on the car, also topping him up with fuel. So the main reason, really bringing him in to get that fuel in the car. These slicks that were on just a little while ago probably didn't have a lot of wear on them, but you got to start over every time you come in for fuel. So that's exactly what the team is doing right now. Very quick pit stop, got everything done before the fuel was in the car.
Now that surprises me, Chris, that they put tires on there. Of course, it doesn't cost them any extra time, but certainly those other tires would have been up to temperature, and the out lap out of the pits would have been much quicker, and the subsequent next 2 laps would have been much quicker.
Well, we're on the
caution. But we also kind of have to think, Dorsey, you know, there's a potential that this track could really dry out here, so he's going to have possibly a full stint that he might have to go with that fuel, and if he does, as we saw yesterday, a lot of drivers complaining of losing rear grip, so, you know, those 10 or 15 laps he may have had on those older tires may have really hurt him if this goes green this next stint, and these cars start to loosen up like we saw yesterday.
And of course, we're under the caution as well, so I mean, it's not much of a gamble. You're right.
Here's the thing, is that Ryan Dial needs to get up to speed, needs to find his rhythm again. Montoya is already in the zone, and the 0-1 did not come in all that much longer after the 11 was in. This will be a good scrap up front. Dial, the Scotsman, up against the Colombian Montoya. It's on at Daytona. Well, people of
those guys stole Dale Jr.'s boat.
Enjoying themselves here at Daytona International Speedway. On the track, off the track, in the lake, and off. There's entertainment everywhere. We're still under a full course caution, and this is the heavily damaged 02 Ganassi car. That is frustrating, and for young Mimo Rojas, he will be devastated. When they were in with a shot, they were in the top 5, and now that has evaporated dramatically. We were showing you a story, an interesting story about Kevin Buckler earlier on. Here he is. He's down there with Mike Johnson right now.
Well, Kevin, sorry we couldn't finish that piece on you earlier, but I woke up this morning, pulled up the Grand Am timing and scoring, saw you guys had pulled up to second place. By the time I got here, you dropped off the pace. What happened?
Yeah, what a heartbreak. You know, the guys did such a great job all night, and we were in P2. We had the leader in sight, and on the restart, I got hit by an idiot in the DP. I was clearly in turn 6. I got hit in my left rear wheel. Broke a couple things. We're back out right now. Guys in the JLo Racing 64 are holding the flag eye for us. Are really pulling for these guys. We want to win this thing if we can. All the cars are on the track. They've all done a great job.
Well, right now, this yellow couldn't have come for a better time for the 64 car because the 85 is pitted, which might give you guys another lap back up on those leaders.
Yeah, Thomas and the guys up on the stand have been doing a good job on strategy on getting our laps back. And I'll tell you what, really got my fingers crossed. My friends Jim Lowe and Jim Pace worked an entire year to get this deal done. And here we are in Daytona. We're running for a podium and hopefully a win.
Well, I'm hoping for you too because I miss being with you guys. And over to Chris.
Mike, the SunTrust number 10 machine was just in pit lane. Jan Magnussen hopping out. Max the Axe getting behind the wheel. This team coming back from being over 4 laps down yesterday when they had all those problems electrically. Now the team right here in the hunt. This team is really excited about where they're going in this race this year. New team for Wayne Taylor, but they do have a problem. They have been dealing with this problem since yesterday. The clutch on the car is not engaging when they're in pit lane, so these boys have been pushing this car out of pit lane every single pit stop since yesterday. So this team getting some big legs here today. Now the thing we're going to have to pay attention to is this is coming down to a sprint race, and these pit stops have to be perfect. They're taking an extra 5 seconds to push the SunTrust machine to get it going, so it's really going to come down to these last couple hours, and can these guys stay in this race having to push the car every time they come into pit lane?
Speaking of big legs, give me a look at those moon boots you're wearing. Come on.
Come on, Diffie.
Get your camera going.
We were watching the rain. We were watching the other guys out here, and it was raining. I was prepared.
You could have floated off if you got deep.
now my feet are getting a little sweaty.
Thanks, Chris. We are going to squeeze in another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to go green. We'll take advantage of this yellow and just show you racing. When we come back, stick around.
Ladies and gentlemen,
reminding you that Forza Motorsport Showdown premieres February 21st at 11 p.m. Eastern right here on Speed. It's the Forza Motorsport Showdown. What began as a video game comes to life as amateur drivers push their skills and cars to the max. Don't miss it. Well, there's plenty of fun and games here at the track, and it's about to get a whole lot serious as we have 3 cars on the lead lap. The 06 Banner Pontiac has been released. That quick flash looked like Leighton Reese to me. Team principal behind the wheel as he exits pit road, and they should be thrilled with the performance of these Pontiacs on debut. Mike.
Yeah, great pit stop action down here in the GT field. The 85 car actually came in too early, so they're going to lose a lap to the 64 and the 07. They waited for their way by, did another lap, got their pit stops done on time, got all the maintenance they needed. Now the 70 car actually tried to short pit everybody else and tried to beat the pace car, but they missed it, so they're going to lose another lap for the rest of the field. I talked to Gary Pratt about their 2 Pontiacs and said, well, now you're on the lead lap, you're going to be with that 85. They said, we got a great team, great car, great drivers, but right now our car just isn't as fast as that Porsche, so they're still going to need some help from the 85 car if they want to win this race. Back to you.
Well, that was good strategy to get those laps back, no doubt about that, but he's right about one thing, Gary Pratt. The Pontiac with the big frontal end just does not have the top-end speed that the Porsche does, so in an out-route race, the Porsche would probably win at this point. But that is a brand-new development by Banner Engineering. Leighton Reese behind the wheel now, and they have done a fantastic job keeping those brand-new cars out there throughout the night. This will be a war when we go back to green, make no mistake about it. Max Angelelli staying, on the same lap now. as Juan Pablo Montoya and Ryan Dial. These three cars are really going to set sail.
So as we prepare to go green, lights are off on the pace car. It's Ryan Dial, Juan Pablo Montoya, Max Angelelli, all three on the lead lap. Roberto Moreno for Brumos Porsche is fourth outright and just one lap off the lead of the race. There's some important statistics on the screen right there. Continue to run down the order. For Samax, it's Chris Fester in fifth overall, 2 laps down on Moreno. And then, of course, in sixth, due to the number of laps accumulated, it's still the O2 Ganassi car. That will change dramatically once we go back to green. David Empringham for AIM Autosport is seventh at the moment, and Jorg Bergmeister in the Ruby Tuesday Porsche has been flying. In the lead up to that most recent full course caution, the German, the reigning Daytona prototype champion, is in awesome form. McDowell is in 9 for Finlay Motorsports, and Oriol Servia for the Kodak Easy Shed Doran is in 10. So that's how they stand, giving you an overview, and we are getting ready to go back to racing. More on the 23.
Yeah, Lee, Jorg Bergmeister is actually reporting right now that he's picking up a very heavy vibration under braking. Now, I can't see where the cars are on track to see if they're actually going to try to wait for a wave by or put it back in. I'm on my way down to the pits down right now. But right now, he's been flying out there, and they're really hoping to catch that 61 car. And when that one's done, they're just going to go to the next one and the next one. And, you know, last year we were so used to seeing that car just flying when they had problems. But there've been a lot of rules changes since a year ago, and now the car just doesn't have that outright speed that it did last year.
Well, it's got an extra 100 pounds, carrying a little more weight, and it's having to work a little harder. But we know that that Porsche engine in the back of it is very reliable. The Crawford chassis is beautiful, and well, Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing, a very experienced organization headed up by Alex Job.
But that heavy vibration under braking is not a good thing whatsoever. I mean, there's a lot of things that can cause that. Any vibration when you're running 190 miles per hour does not fix itself. And when it's related to the brakes, you have to be awfully careful. If you might have a cracked rotor or possibly something along that line, if not, maybe just get away with a warped rotor. But in any event, Jorg will have to brake at about 80% instead of 100% until he figures out what exactly has gone wrong here.
All right, let's get ready to go back to racing. Lights are off. We're ready to go green, and have a look what car is in second place. It's the 7. It's the second Team Samax car. So that may provide some nice rear protection for our race leader, Ryan Dial. Let's go green. Here at Daytona, the Rolex 24 springs back into life, and Dial will be looking in his rearview mirror, looking out for Juan Pablo Montoya, who has excelled in his first Rolex 24.
Like you say, he's got a teammate covering his back door. That could be very, very good. Since they're not racing for position, he can really be a blocker.
Well, there was 4 cars between Dial and Montoya, 6 cars between Montoya and Max Angelelli. This is the race for the lead, and we've got 3 cars in contention right now.
Moreno takes up a position after position moves the pass.
Well, Roberto is really enjoying a second wind in his career. That extensive testing for the new Champ car chassis really brought a smile to his face, a spring in his step. He's back to full race fitness and relishing this opportunity to be with such a famous and historic team like Brumos Porsche, and they're running in the top 5. They're just a lap down on the leaders and could still very much win this race and hand Hurley Hayward his 6th Rolex crown.
They could get that car back on that lead lap, and there's only 4 cars up there that need to be dealt with.
This paints the picture beautifully. Just 2 cars now between Dial and Montoya. Now, Dial, even though he's had several laps under caution, this is his first flyer at full speed. Montoya has experienced many. He's been in for half a stint before Dial. So, JPM may be able to eat into Ryan's lead. We will monitor this closely.
First, he's going to have to deal with Mr. Moreno, who looks to be flying.
You ride with Montoya. Update on Angelelli. He's already got by 4 of those 6 cars, and this is a very wide Brumos Porsche. It's proving difficult for Montoya. This will be a source of frustration. He doesn't want Dial to get away.
Nor does Moreno want that car to get in front of him, because he's trying to get his lap back. He's not going to pull over. He's got a competent machine there.
A Brazilian and a Colombian. You reckon there's some spirit in these 2 cars?
Oh, that's trouble.
Passionate about their motor racing, these two guys.
Montoya with the better run.
Drivers.
Nope, not going to give him up the inside, that's for sure.
There might be a slight love tap here shortly, I think. Juan may just nudge Roberto over. But Moreno has been around far too long to be tricked.
In his own way, though, Juan needs to bump him over because he needs to get on with the project.
Well, look in the background of every camera shot, because not too long until you see the familiar SunTrust 10, Wayne Taylor Racing, Pontiac Riley. Max the Axe is coming.
And Max the Axe lives for competition like this. I mean, this is what this man breathes for, is to go up there and duke it out with somebody. And there he comes.
There he is right there. One more car. It's a Red Bull. Correct myself. There he is right there. So Angelelli still has 3 cars to get by. So the task isn't all that easy just yet. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, because of that crash, Rojas has dropped a position. David Empringham and the AIM Autosport Lexus Riley is now up into 6th outright. That is an outstanding performance for a new team. A young team that have done Formula Racing. Here's Montoya on the inside of Moreno. Gotcha!
Great job right there. I'll tell you what now, none of these drivers can stay in the car to the end of the race because of the 3-hour rule. You can only drive 3 hours, so there's going to have to be a pit stop and a driver change for all our lead cars.
Well, listen, this truly is a team sport, but one driver who deserves a huge pat on the back, who has set up the platform for Ryan Dial to perform, is Darren Manning from Samax. He's with Chris.
That's right, Lee. This is the man who took the lead just a little while ago. Darren, you ran here 2 years ago with Ganassi. Now you're back with Samax. You've got to be loving the position you're in.
Yeah, head of the Ganassi guys. That's what I'm really loving. No, it's been a great battle ever since we started this race, and I can't believe how much of a sprint race it's turned into me ever since the get-go. You know, we went down a few laps early on, and we managed to get a couple back through green, got one back through yellow, and we had a big lead there until that yellow came out. But so I guess it swings in roundabouts a bit. But no, it's been a good battle with the 02 car most of the time, and most probably about the last 10 hours the 01 car. So it's nice to be ahead of them, though.
Well, guys, this is a 24-hour race. These guys are working real hard. Let me see your hands right now. Look at this right hand here, guys. You think they're doing some shifts out there, 11,000 shifts? That's what it does to your hands. You doing all right?
Well, that's only because I haven't driven anything for a year. That's an old man hand. It got soft, and then it got all sweaty, so it's not really that hard out there.
Now, are you going to be getting back in the car later, or are you done for the rest of the race?
Well, I hope not. I'm tired. You know, I want to go sleep. No, we've only got like 4 hours to go. I think Ryan will probably do a couple and let Pat finish the race with a couple of stints.
Now, Lee, you were making fun of my boots because I was worried about the weather. Look at this guy. He's dressed for the Arctic, man.
He comes from Northern England. He knows how to dress for the cold, that's for sure. So there's the road map ahead. Dial for at least another stint, and then Patrick Carpentier, who also has done a very good job. And I spoke with team principal Peter Barron earlier in the weekend. Now, he wasn't getting cocky, but boy, he was confident. And he said, we have just got such a sweet package this weekend. I don't want to say too much too early. He said, but we will be there. We will be there.
And you saw that blister on his hand. That is not unusual. He says it's a soft hand because I haven't driven for a while. You get this monster callus sooner or later, but that's very typical of a new driver coming.
Did you see how close Montoya was to Dial? Here comes the Ganassi car. There is a lapped Krone Pontiac Riley right in the middle, but there is first, there is second. It is on. 3.5 hours remaining, and Montoya is again challenging for the lead. The Rolex 24 at Daytona. Wow, what a fabulous event it's been. We've had a little bit of everything. Lee Diffie, Dorsey Schrader with you here in the booth, Mike Johnson and Chris Neville on pit road, and we have exactly 3 hours, 30 minutes remaining until the checkered flag flies. Will it be this, Samax Pontiac Riley? Will it be the Lexus Riley for Ganassi and Juan Montoya to win on debut at the Rolex 24? Or will it be Max Angelelli for Wayne Taylor Racing? Will they do it again? Some important numbers to digest. 550 laps in the books. We've had 9 different leaders, over 28 lead changes, but the compelling stat there is 13 caution periods, full course cautions. There has been some drama here at the World Centre of Racing overnight, and we've got Dial leading outright and the Daytona prototype class, while Jorg Hart for Farnbacher Lowe's leads the GT class. No traffic now. It's a square-on fight. toe-to-toe, Montoya and Dial.
And Montoya, the quicker of the two cars right now. He's finally dispersed with the cars between them. He's got his sights set for the lead. Ryan Dial is going to have a handful.
Here's a list of who has enjoyed the lead. Which particular teams, and there's been a good spread, hasn't there? This has been a memorable race, such a big build-up, such anticipation, and boy, it has delivered right until the end. This is for the lead. Look at Montoya under brakes. He is turning up the heat on the Scotsman. Ryan Dial, who has a big season ahead in Champ Cars, has a big task on his hands here to hold off a Formula One veteran. Montoya, who is going into an exciting season of his own in NASCAR Nextel Cup, is in with a chance of winning this race.
Montoya cracks it into the 1:45. That's the fastest lap we've seen since the start of this race, quite some time back.
Scott Pruitt has been questioned time and time again. How are these two rookies handling the sports car task? Salvador Duran and Juan Pablo Montoya, and the veteran Pruitt has said they have handled it just perfectly. A few minor errors here and there, but they are great drivers, and look at Montoya go. Let's ride with him for a moment. He's good into one, Montoya. He is really good into one. That's where he pounced on Roberto Moreno. And now Ryan Dial is feeling the full force of Juan Pablo Montoya.
And right up here is a brake zone that it can be done. Not this time.
Both cars are Riley chassis, but it's a Pontiac power plant versus a Lexus. This is the Lexus you can hear screaming.
Pontiac a little bit more torque, gets the jump off the corner. That helps Dial.
He is playing it smart.
It's all this next corner. Who can get back up onto the banking with the cleaner? Cleaner run. Who gets to the throttle first?
It's caution with a spice of force.
The Pontiac definitely has torque.
Watch Montoya to set Dial up coming into one. This is the run down the back straight, heading to the bus stop. But watch them when they come around to complete another lap. This is pressure in its highest form, and Ryan Dial is excelling. He is handling it in the Sitco Pontiac Riley.
You know what the difference is? That Pontiac Riley gets the jump off the corner, gets that throttle down, or at least it has the torque to pull about a 3-length gap. Then here comes Montoya on top end. More top end for sure, but it makes it harder in the brake zone.
We came to know Ryan Dial in the Champ Car Atlantic Series several years ago, and he does not take any rubbish. He is a great driver. He's a forceful driver. He knows what he wants. But now he must deal with traffic, with some real pressure situation.
Oh, there's a trap right there. There was a trap.
Montoya, left, right. He's finally around the Matt Connolly BMW M3.
A little deep in the corner there, gives up a little time.
And as you may see, it is growing dark. The clouds are back over the top of the speedway, and things have cooled off a little. Whether the rain returns is yet to be seen.
More traffic to deal with. GT car stays out of the way. Nicely done.
Now look in the background. Let's see where Angelelli is. There's the SunTrust car, and he is closing the margin as well.
He's 6 seconds behind as we speak right now, and he's coming through that same traffic. That 6 seconds will not be there for long.
Give you an indication, last time round, Dial was a 146.2, Montoya was a 146.1, and Angelelli a 146.1. So 0.3 of a second for Max the Axe. He is coming. Don't go anywhere. This is about to be a 3-car fight.